Hey YouTube, welcome back to Axis and Allies, the Garrison. This is Detroit once again coming to you with a second season of the YouTube Wars. Okay, last year we wrapped up the first season of the YouTube Wars, which was an extremely successful game that we played here using YouTube as a social playing platform. Okay, it's something that we have evolved and we are currently continuing by introducing this year's second season, YouTube Wars 2, YTW 2. Okay, so last year's was extremely successful. We had a lot of fun. We had many viewers participating and enjoying watching the videos and content that we at the Garrison created here. Okay, of course, I would like to take the time to thank my friends who participated during the first installment of the YouTube Wars. So now it is February 3rd, and we will go ahead now with the second season of the YouTube Wars. Okay, so it's gonna we're gonna have a couple of new faces. Okay, so actually just one new face. I shouldn't say a couple, just one new face in the Axis team, which will be made up of Dutch Lancaster, Hilltop Pillbox, who is the new face, and Detroit, myself. Okay, needless to say, even though Hilltop is his first time playing with us here at the Garrison, okay, he is an experienced player as far as using YouTube as a playing, or at least social media as a playing platform. He is a veteran of this style of gaming. Okay, so yes, quick recap: the Axis, Dutch Lancaster will be Germany. Hilltop Pillbox will be Italy, and I myself will be Japan, Detroit. Okay, now the Allies, familiar names. You have USA being played by G.I. Joe, Soviet Union being played by VK Cowboy, and the United Kingdom being played by the one and only Sired Blood. So basically, the same team that comprised the Allied team during the first YouTube Wars will be playing together again, but this time as the Axis powers. Okay, we, myself and Dutch Lancaster, will be playing on the Axis side. Okay, so of course we have assumed Hilltop. We lost War Torn, who was unable to play with us this time around, as well as Corporal 24, who was also unable to join us. All right, so a few things. Basically, keep in mind, guys, that this is a 12-point game that will be played during 8 rounds. It is the responsibility, okay, yes, it's the responsibility of the Axis team to achieve a total of 12 victory points, okay, that must be accrued by the end of round 8. If by the end of round 8, the Axis powers have not achieved and maintained those 12 points, the game is declared a loss for the Axis, and the Allies will then hence become or be called out as the winners of the conflict. Okay, so basically, let's keep in mind that that hasn't changed. A few technology tweaks or rule modifications that were introduced by Sired, and a few of us also made a few recommendations that we thought would make the game a little bit more balanced. Okay, so first modification that was introduced by Sired will be the one with heavy bombers. Okay, in the past, I always felt that the technology of heavy bombers that allowed super bombers to roll with 2 die, okay, at 4 or less, was way too powerful, too much power for one for one particular unit to have. So the suggestion was made that we had to somehow curtail the power of the bombers. Hence now, bombers will roll with 1 die at 4. Super bombers, let me make that correction. Okay, super bombers can roll now with 1 die at 4 or less, and a second die with 2 at 2, or 2 or less. Okay, so that's, instead of 4 at 4, now it's 1 die at 4 or less, and a second die at 2 or less. Okay, now naval transports. Okay, There's a combined arms tweak where now where when any time that you have two transports paired up, okay, or any number of naval transports that are paired up, can now defend with a die roll of one at one. Okay, so that's something that we felt was necessary to balance out the game, and also that it would introduce some realism, because as we all know, transports during the Second World War, naval transports actually did have anti-aircraft weaponry for attacking aircraft. And by the way, let me mention this, that the anti-aircraft is only for aircraft, attacking aircraft. The aircraft on board the naval, the weaponry on board the naval transports, okay, whenever paired up, cannot attack other ships. It's just when attacking or defending from incoming air attacks. All right, so another thing that that I suggested to Sire Blood was bombers. We in this game, according to the BBR, bombers can paratroop or transport two infantry, according to the old rule set. Now we've modified that now, where bombers can only paradrop or transport one infantry at a time. I think the reasoning was that two units was just way too much for one particular air transport or bomber to actually ferry over. So one is the name of the game now. Okay, a new tech that was introduced, and I like this one a lot, and it's the super carriers. Okay, super carriers can now, it's a tech also, you have to develop, in order to get this technology, you have to develop and invest the technology. Super carriers can now, or will allow carriers to absorb 3 points of damage, 3 hit points, okay? And it also allows the carriers to be able to carry or deploy 3 aircraft at a time, which is an amazing, interesting new technology that Sire introduced to this new rule set. Okay, so basically that's it as far as the rule tweaks, and I think that these tweaks will make the game a little bit more interesting and better balanced. The only one that I'm a little bit worried about is the super carriers, because we really don't know how that would affect. Of all the ones that I mentioned, super carriers is the one that can have the most effect. But hey, we are, the beautiful thing about this, about house rules, is that you can play test them, and if something doesn't work out, you can just ditch it and move on to the next. Okay. All right, guys. So I've already gone over who's playing with what country, and I can tell you that it's not going to be easy. The Allies, G.I. Joe, VK Cowboy, and Sire Blood are an experienced team. They proved to us that they're definitely a force to be reckoned with, and it's not going to be easy for us, the Axis, to overcome their combined wealth of knowledge and experience. So, however, we're up for the challenge once again, and we're looking forward to engaging our opponents, and we shall have fun in the process. review the results of the order of battle. Definitely a very interesting set of results that we got from the attack on the British Royal Navy. In season 106, you had two German U-boats performing attacks on the British fleet off the coast of season 106. Dutch Lancaster already resolved battle, so it's just a formality now. And as it turned out, both British warships were sunk. Okay, the Germans did not sustain any casualties. Both of the German U-boats in season 106 survived to fight another day, and also, I presume, will be conducting convoy disruptions in the near future. Okay, now let's go over to season 109. You have a combined attack of both naval and the Air Force. You have two German submarines, one tactical fighter, one fighter, one tactical bomber, and two strategic bombers or air wings from the German Luftwaffe attacking season 109, where you have a British Royal Navy destroyer and naval transport defending. Okay, needless to say, I forgot to mention that that Sire Blood did choose to scramble all four of his defending Spitfires, actually three Spitfires and one French fighter that were stationed in England and in Scotland. As it turned out, you have two air bases, one in Scotland and one in England, that allowed for the scramble of at least four aircraft that defended that particular season 109. Well, as it turned out, the Germans, under the command of Dutch Lancaster, had a tremendous role. And not only were the Germans able to take out the British fleet in season 106, but they also shot down all four of the defending aircraft. Yes, all four of the Allied defending aircraft were shot down. Okay. What is interesting is that the Germans only lost one unit, and that was one submarine in season 109. So it was definitely a very catastrophic role for the British and a magnificent start for the German war machine, the Kriegsmarine and Luftwaffe. All right, so then, what a blast. It's definitely a dramatic turn of events. It's a bad start for the Allies here, in particular for the English. Okay, season 111. Same thing again. You have, I forgot to put one sub here. Okay. As it turned out, the German Kriegsmarine was attacking season 111 with one submarine, one battleship, three fighters, and two tactical bombers. Well, the British, who were defending season 111 with one battleship, one naval cruiser, and one destroyer, also sustained a similar conclusion. The British Navy fleet here in season 111 was also sunk to the detriment of the Germans. They only lost one submarine, okay, and the German battleship, the Bismarck, okay, right here, all right, was damaged as a consequence of the battle. All right, so this is also another big black eye for the Allied war effort. Definitely, the Axis war machine, the German war machine here, took very few casualties and inflicted massive injury to the British Royal Navy and British Royal Air Force. All right, so that's it for these two battles here. Let's go on to the four remaining battles next time. The German Wehrmacht crosses the Rhine and pours into France. The French army collapses. France surrenders. All right, so let's move on to Western Europe, where you have the battles for Paris and southern France. Okay, so in southern France, another German victory. The Germans lost one mechanized infantry division in this attack, and the French lost an artillery and French infantry division. Okay, both of the remaining mechanized infantry move in and take the territory of southern France. Okay, the battle for Paris. Okay, here again, another victory for the German army, for the Wehrmacht. Unfortunately for the Germans, it was a battle that the French fought, and they fought to the very end, and the Germans did sustain massive losses. Okay, but still, it was a resounding victory for the Germans. The Germans lost all 7 infantry divisions. Okay, let me remove them from the game board. Along with 1 mechanized infantry, all right, and 2 artillery divisions. Okay, so the Germans have remaining 6 armored divisions and 1 artillery division in France now. Okay, so let's remove all these casualties. All these French forces have to be removed from the game board. Okay, so here we go. Let's remove all these casualties. All right. So as of now, it's looking that the German army is having resounding victories all over the Western Front and all over the Atlantic. Okay, there is still yet one more battle that needs to be fought, and that is the battle for Yugoslavia. Okay, and we'll be back shortly for that one. All right, so let's go over the battle for Yugoslavia. The German army moved in there quite extensively with a massive army. The Germans did attack and did defeat, actually did not defeat, but did sustain or inflicted injury to the Yugoslavian army. The Yugoslavs lost 4 infantry and only have 1 infantry division remaining, whereas in turn they inflicted only 1 loss to the Germans. The Germans only lost 1 infantry division. The Germans, at this point in time, under the command of Dutch Lancaster, okay, decided to withdraw and pull their armies back into Romania. Okay, and the idea behind that is that it will allow the Italians to move in during their turn in the near future. Okay, so that's what's going on here. That is the strategy being used, where the Germans ping pong their attack into Yugoslavia, weakening the defending Yugoslav army, which then allows the Italians to follow through with a secondary attack that will allow Italy to easily overtake Yugoslavia. All right, so having said that, guys, that's it for all 6 battles that were fought by the Germans. Dutch implemented a brilliant strategy that allowed him to maximize the most out of his attacking armies, air forces, and navy. But also, I have to say that Dutch enjoyed very good luck. He sustained very minimal losses all around, while yet simultaneously inflicting massive damage on his opponents, his enemies. The only battle where I saw that the Germans actually sustained considerable losses was in the battle for France, the battle in particular for Paris, where the attacking German army lost 8 infantry, 7 regular infantry divisions, 1 mechanized infantry, and 2 artillery divisions that were lost to defending French forces. All right, so needless to say, the French government has now capitulated to Hitler, and the Axis forces have moved in. Okay, so currently France is no longer, and the only French forces that are still fighting are now under the command of General de Gaulle. So yes, it is the end of France for now, anyway, because the French still do play a small role in this game. In any case, we shall be back with the non-combat movements shortly. Stand by. All right, so let's go ahead with the non-combat movements for the German turn or German side. In C-Zone 109, you have the two German strategic bombers along with a tactical bomber and fighter. They had two movements left in their gas gauges, and they'll be going back into Holland and Belgium. All right, and they'll be parked there till further notice. Okay, so they have no choice but to actually land there because they only had two movements left in their gas gauges. As for the German Navy, or actually not Navy, but Air Force, the Luftwaffe in C-Zone 111, all aircraft here also have two movements left in their gas gauges, and they'll be landing in Germany itself, in Western Germany actually, and they'll be landing there for the remainder of this turn. Okay, the two AAAs in Western Germany will in turn be going into Holland, Belgium. The two German infantry divisions in Denmark will move south and will reinforce and help with the defense of those precious aircraft into Western Germany. All right, so what else? Germany proper, you have three artillery divisions that are going to be railroaded into Romania. Let's remember that according to the BBR, you can railroad forces equal to the number of the value of the territory for a movement of up to, I believe, 3 spaces, if I recall correctly. Okay, in this instance, you have a total of 3 artillery pieces that were moved, or 3 artillery divisions that were moved into Romania. You also have an additional 2 units or divisions that are moving into Romania as well. Okay, so now that's because there's a total point value of 5 IPCs in Germany proper. All right, the remaining 9 infantry divisions will be moving into Poland, okay, along with 3 AAAs that will also be moved into Poland. All right, so as you can see, Dutch is doing an excellent job at reinforcing his frontier or border against the Soviet Union on a potential round 2 attack against the Soviet Union with an Operation Barbarossa. Okay, so definitely the Germans are already looking poised to go on the offensive against the Soviet Union. All right, so let's go ahead with the tactical bomber that that previously joined the attack in Yugoslavia. This particular unit has 3 movements left, and it will land, actually 2 gas movements left in its gas gauge, and will go into southern Italy and help reinforce, okay, the Italian forces or Italian Navy with a possible Taranto operation later on this round. So it'll give the Italians an option of scrambling up to 3 aircraft because the Italians do have an airbase in southern Italy. All right, the 2 aircraft, the German aircraft, the tactical bomber and fighter that attacked southern France, have only 1 gas movement left in their gas gauges, and they will be landing in northern Italy. Okay, so let me remove this particular die. All right, what else? Let's go further up north. Let's not forget that Germany will annex Finland. All right, so which means then that 4 additional local divisions will be recruited, totaling a total of 7 infantry divisions with the assistance of the locals, the Finns. And now instead of 3 divisions, you have a total of 7 ground infantry divisions in Finland, again facing off against the Soviets in this part of Scandinavia. All right, so the German Navy in C-Zone 114 will move at a movement of 1 and 2, and will park itself in C-Zone 112 next to the German battleship, the Bismarck, that is currently damaged in C-Zone 111. All right, okay, so, all right, what am I looking at here? Okay, am I forgetting any other movements, any non-combat movements yet? I don't see anything else. I think I pretty much covered all the non-combat movements. What I do find interesting is that in Bulgaria, right here, it's customary many of the times for Germany to take Bulgaria. In this instance, Dutch chose not to take Bulgaria, and this presents an interesting scenario for the Italian player Hilltop Pillbox, because it now gives Hilltop the option of going into Bulgaria and recruiting up to 4 local infantry divisions that may assist with the Italians further going into the Mediterranean. Okay, so as we all know, Italy sometimes lacks manpower, and for the Italians to be able to take Bulgaria means then that the Italians will be able to have the necessary manpower potentially to go into the Mediterranean. And that's something that I figured I should mention as the narrator of this YouTube Wars game. All right, so not my intent to reveal any information, but it's just an observation. I think it's fair that I mention it. So very, very good move on Dutch Lancaster's part. I like that, and something that it's not a common tactic to utilize, but it's something that is worth considering for future games. All right, we'll be back then, guys, with the final placements of units. We'll do a recap and final thoughts on this German turn. Sit tight. All right, so let's go ahead with the final placement of purchase units that Dutch made for the German war machine. The Germans did purchase 3 U-boats and 1 destroyer. The destroyer was placed in season 113, as we can see here. The 3 U-boats were placed in season 112 and are reinforcing the German Navy, consisting of 1 naval transport and 1 German cruiser. This is the German cruiser, the Prince Eugen, or Eugene. All right, so that's it for the placement of units for the German forces. Germany, if I'm not mistaken, is currently collecting 73 IPCs, and that includes all of its national objectives, including the fact that it now has at least five submarines. In actuality, Germany has 6 submarines in its navy right now, but it just needs 5 in order to get an additional 5 IPCs. All right, so let's not forget that Germany also collected 19 IPCs from the fall of France in earlier this turn. So just a few thoughts, commentary on this particular German turn. In all honesty, I like to say that Dutch played very well thought out strategy and tactics that he utilized against the British overall, against the Allies. Needless to say, though, I do believe that he had very, very good luck. Lady Luck smiled on him. He was able to inflict massive damage on the British, who is being managed or led by Sired Blood. Okay. In contrast, you can say that the losses that the Germans sustained were very minimal. In all honesty, if you think about it, the German Kriegsmarine only lost a total of 2 submarines, which is very interesting. All right. Having said that, in Paris, the Germans did sustain losses, but these are losses that are acceptable. There were a total of 7 ground infantry divisions, one mechanized, and 2 artillery divisions. But these are losses that are acceptable and that on occasion do occur. Overall, his armor is intact. So this armor can now start heading back east on a potential Barbarossa operation against the Soviet Union, either later on round 2 or round 3. Okay, as you can see, I like what Dutch did as far as building up his forces on the Eastern Front. Okay, so already you could see that there are 2 German army groups, one Army Group South and Army Group North, okay, that are currently facing a potential Operation Barbarossa against the Germans. On a separate note, I mentioned this before earlier in this episode that I like the fact that Dutch did not take Bulgaria. This will allow the Italian player to move in and annex Bulgaria, allowing Italy to recruit 4 local infantry divisions that can later on be utilized in the Mediterranean. And as I said earlier, the Italians sometimes do just simply run out of manpower. Okay, and having an additional 4 infantry divisions gives Italy options as far as going into Greece and then further on potentially into Northern Africa or the Middle East. All right, guys. So having said that, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of YouTube Wars Season 2. Very interesting turn of events for the Axis. The Allies had a bad start, and let's see if they can turn the ship around. Okay, it is now the Soviet Union's turn, and the Soviet Union is under the command of our good friend VK Cowboy. And once again, all power to VK Cowboy. He's an excellent player, very crafty, and I'm sure that he will find some interesting way on countering Dutch's moves with his Germans. Guys, as always, don't forget to bunker down and play. Let me know what your thoughts and ideas are regarding this first episode of the YouTube Wars. Till next time.